Good evening. It is now 6 o'clock. Mr. Clerk, do we have quorum?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Good evening. Yes, we do indeed have quorum. Currently absent from the meeting are Councillors Bohm and Ridge.
Thank you. I see we have a packed house today. I expect we're going to be here for a good time, not a long time. So first order, approval of the agenda. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Amos, Councillor Stephen. All those in favor? Passed. Confirmation of minutes. The minutes from the Arts and Recreation Committee Policies Committee meeting number 04-2023 held Thursday, June 22nd, 2023 be approved. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Sanik, Councillor Stephen. All those in favor? Approved. Thank you. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, move on. There are no delegations. There are no briefings. We have one item of business, an update of the review of the City of Kingston Arts Fund. Who would like to take that? Mr. Whittington, please.
Thank you, Councillor Shaves, and through you as Chair, I'm happy to be here this evening along with my colleague Dana Kalahid, who's the Manager, Arts and Sector Development, to speak to the information report before you about the CCAF review. This is a project that we've been looking forward to working on for quite some time and wanted to be able to have this opportunity to update the members of the Arts, Recreation, Community Policy Committee about where we're at in terms of this initiative. We were extremely disappointed last year when we had a failed RFP process to initiate the work a year ago, but have had a very successful outcome of the invitational RFQ process that's identified in the information report. And in fact, are at a position where we are on the cusp of contracting a consulting firm and have a startup meeting scheduled for next week. So things are definitely getting underway. But wanted to just clarify and share with the committee members tonight the scope of the project. This is something that has been long overdue, as is identified, but very much looking forward to looking at the project in its totality, or the program in its totality, in terms of how it's administered, the existing granting streams, eligibility, impacts, and relevance, and identifying gaps. We know that there's been a long-standing need to look at how a fund like the City of Kingston Arts Fund serves the community as widely as possible, both on the part of the arts sector and the residents who benefit from the works of the arts sector. So we very much are looking forward to delving into that work as this gets underway. And as is identified in the report, we are planning a very broad consultation process around this work, which is identified as one of 4 phases. So we're about to embark on phase 1 of the work, which is project initiation and program review that will take us to the end of the calendar year 2023. We are scheduling the consultation and public engagement program in Q1 2024 with the intent of bringing forward a draft report in Q2 2024, and then bringing back to Arts, Recreation, Community Policies, and subsequently to Council, if this committee endorses it, a final report and presentation. And we know that there's desire in the community to see the program being looked at and reviewed, but we want to make sure that we give this process the time it deserves. And as is identified in the report, we do anticipate that we'll be well positioned for recommendations to come forward halfway through 2024, so we can have a fully realized plan for administration for 2025 to see any changes or modifications that are made represented in that funding cycle. So I just wanted to make sure that you're aware that this work is getting underway. We are very excited about this opportunity and embarking on it with the consultants that we will be engaging with, and happy to take any questions tonight if you have them.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Councillor Amos.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you. Just a couple of questions. When was the last time a review was completed?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mr. Chair. To clarify, the CCAF program is reviewed on an annual basis, so that is one of the requirements of the Kingston Arts Council as the administrator of the fund. It's part of the service level agreement we have with them. They do a robust review every year that involves grant recipients, jury members, and other people with a vested interest, their own board, city staff, and others. And through that mechanism, it's been possible to make a number of changes to CCAF at an administrative level over the years. In 2013, actually, through the Arts Advisory Committee, there was a working group that was created called the CCAF Review Working Group, and at that time, that group brought forward and council approved changes to the objectives of the grant program. So that was 5 years after its creation, and at that time, that working group outlined a series of recommendations for mid and longer term implementation, many of which have been addressed. So there hasn't been a full review of the City of Kingston Arts Fund as we're planning since its inception in 2007, but there's been many opportunities over the years to refine the program as it's continued.
Thank you. Really, my last question, and I noted in the reports that it indicated that there is sufficient funds to take on this endeavor. But I think the cost of the program or the cost of the consultant should have been added. Now, so I'll ask the question now: how much is this going to cost?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mr. Chair. Under the practice of issuing an invitational RFQ, there is a maximum limit of $100,000. So we went out to the market through that process, received 5 submissions, all with varying prices. One of the 5 submissions was knocked out because it was over $100,000. So as we finalized the consultation with the consultants, and we do have some room for a negotiation around price, we're expecting something in the order of about $75,000 to $85,000.
Thank you. Final question. So the $75,000 to $80,000 will not affect any of the grants that the city has set aside for this budget cycle or next budget cycle. This is a strict line item just for the consultants.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair, yes, the funding for the City of Kingston Arts Fund that is handed over to the Kingston Arts Council to administer, that is monies allocated as part of our annual operating grant. The funds that we're using for this strategic review of the City of Kingston Arts Fund is being funded out of capital as a separate line item.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Councillor Sanik.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, some questions to staff. And so I know staff received the letter with concerns that they want to make sure are included with this review from the Heart Center. And I just wondered if staff want to recap what you've said, that that the consultant will be meeting with Heart, and when would they be meeting with Heart? Would that be in Q1 of 2024?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that would certainly be what I would anticipate. And, as I have identified and as outlined in the information report, we are making a very concerted effort around consultation. And we know that there's a number of questions that are being raised at this time, and certainly we want to make sure that we facilitate opportunities for as thorough discussion and input as possible. So I would anticipate that organizations like the Heart Center and any others who have a vested interest are going to have multiple opportunities for contact with staff and the consultants in Q1 2024.
Sorry, that would be a one-on-one. Is that correct? With like the consultant, and I don't know if staff will be present too, but between Heart and the consultant, is that right?
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. I can answer that, Councillor Osanek. So the scope for the public consultation does include one-on-one interviews, and we have identified in the scope the opportunity for City of Kingston Arts Fund grant recipients to be included in that. So Heart Centre would be considered one of those applicants and would have a chance for that one-on-one conversation, as well as being able to engage in more broader focus groups, open houses, and the rest of their staff and board can be involved in that. But in terms of the one-on-one, it's really, we are looking at bringing in groups that are impacted through the CCAF program and make sure that they have that opportunity.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Councillor Stephen, would you like to add in somewhere here? No?
No, thanks. I think you've covered it well.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have anyone in the public?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are no members of the public present.
Okay, then we'll proceed. Since this is a report for information only, there's no voting, so we shall move on. We have no motions. We have notices of motions. One item of other business. Mr. Wigginton, Director of Arts and Culture Services for Kingston. My understanding that you have a new chapter in your life, and this will be your last meeting here at the round table, the Horseshoe. I would like to give you a thanks for everything that you've done. I know you've been with the city since 2009, and you've showed your passion in making sure Kingston's cultural life is vibrant, enjoyable, and accessible. So I know most of us here have not been on council for very long, but would like to thank you for all your service that you've done for both the city and for the residents and the arts and cultures field. So thank you very much. On that note, there are no correspondence. The next date of meeting will be Wednesday, December 17th, 2023, 13th, at 6 p.m. I'm not sure if I want this to be 13 minutes. Next item of business, adjournment. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Stephen, Councillor Osanek. All those in favor? Motion passed. Have a good night. 6:12.